Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer Maker. Today I am showing you how to make a vinyl stencil to paint a wood sign with sharp lines on the Great Maker Show and Tell. One of the more popular home trends these days are wood signs with names or phrases or whatever really on them. And they're really so easy to make and personalize. Last year I taught you how to apply vinyl to a wood sign, my welcome sign over there. You guys have made so many beautiful signs. But there's another way that you can make wood signs. You can paint them to give them a more natural, sort of realistic look. Now, the first thing people think when I say painted wood sign is hand painting and all of the skill that's required to do that. No, no, no. We're going to do it a better way. We're going to use a vinyl stencil that we cut out on our Cricut cutting machines so we can paint exactly what we want. No more and no less. Now, one of the challenges with stenciling paint on a wood sign is bleeding. It can be tricky to get the paint to go exactly where you want it and not bleed under the stencil. Wood signs usually have uneven surfaces, and this can cause the paint to bleed. It's more likely to bleed. But I know a secret, and it's called Mod Podge. A little matte Mod Podge over your stencil before you paint will do wonders, and I'm going to show you how to do that in this tutorial. It's easy. So for this vinyl stencil technique, you're going to need some permanent adhesive vinyl in any color, matte Mod Podge, do not use glossy, acrylic paint, a wood sign. I'm using this 12 by 6 inch wood board that came pre-hung with the rope, but you can use any board that has a flat surface or can be flattened with sandpaper. You're probably going to want to sand and stain it to prepare your sign in advance. You know, you don't have to stain it. You're going to want to probably seal your wood afterwards you paint it as well. Other things that come to mind that are useful are brushes, cosmetic sponges, weeding tools, and of course you're going to want your Cricut cutting machine. I have prepared 3 stencil designs to show you how to cut, apply, and paint your stencil, and you are welcome to use any or all of them for your projects. The designs for all of these wood signs, both of the ones you see here and an extra one, are over my blog at jennifermaker.com. So let me show you where to find them and put it all together so you can make your own customized wood sign. Your first step is to get my free wood sign SVG files so you can create your own awesome wood sign. I keep all of my free files on my blog at jennifermaker.com. Just head on over there and look for the red bar at the top of the screen, and under Libraries, click Enter the Library. If you don't have a password yet for it, you can get one free on the same page. Once you're inside the library, the fastest way to find any file that you're looking for is to search the page for it. So Command F or Control F, and I recommend you search on wood sign. You're looking for vinyl stencils for wood signs, and you just click that link right there, and it downloads to your computer or device, and you can go ahead and open it up. And this is what the files look like inside. There's SVGs, DXFs, and PDFs. The SVG is what we're going to work with today, and I'm going to show you how to upload that to Cricut Design Space. So for step 2, you're going to prepare your stencil design file for cutting. We're going to do this in Cricut Design Space. We're going to upload that file that we just downloaded. So we click on Upload, then Upload Image, and Browse. And we're going to look for the SVG file and click Open. Once it uploads, click Save to save it to your Cricut Design Space account, and then select it and click Insert Images to actually put it onto your canvas. This is what it looks like when it first comes in. I'm going to make the screen a little smaller so we can see everything. There's 3 designs in here. Happiness is homemade, Dear Santa, Define Naughty, and Joy. You get to choose what you want to make, or of course design something entirely yourself. I'm going to make the Happiness is Homemade sign. So we want to hide or delete the other ones that we don't need. The easiest way to do that is simply to go over to the Layers panel and click the eye icon to hide the ones that we're not planning to cut. Just like that. So we're left with Happiness is Homemade. Let me make this a little bigger. You really could just go ahead and cut it out as is. It's already sized for the sign that I plan to use it for. Now you should double check the size of your sign just to be sure. If you need to resize it, you can use the resize handle here in the corner to make it bigger or smaller. And let me undo that. Now we're making a stencil, and stencils will behave a little differently than normal vinyl will, because we're going to be weeding the opposite of what we would normally weed in a stencil, and I'll be showing you that. But to make that easier on myself and to make it easier to center my stencil onto my board, I like to create a bounding box that's the same size as my board. And to do that, you just click on Shapes and click Square, and then you want to size the square to be the same size as your sign. So my sign is, and I'm going to size it up here so it can be exact. It's 12 inches wide, and I believe it's 5.5 inches tall. So I need to click the lock icon right up here at the very top, and then I can change the sizes independently of one another. So I'll change the height to 5.5 inches. So this is what the size of my sign right now. So I'm going to change its color just because it helps me visually. And I'm going to send it to the back so I can see. So awesome. This is what my sign will look like. And you can see it's not centered right now on my sign. We're going to change that. Select both of these layers. So your sign layer and the square rectangle that you just made, and go to the Align menu and choose Center right here. And your rectangle and your design will center perfectly. You don't have to guess at it. Now, if we attach these two layers, so we don't even have to click anywhere other than to click Attach, just like this, we get this, and this will cut out perfectly for our needs. And you'll have a stencil that you can align right onto your board without any issues or guessing or anything like that. All right, so all we have to do is click Make It. Now, because my board is 12 inches long and I am choosing to make that box, my stencil is also a little bit too long for my cutting mat, which is not a big deal because I have a longer cutting mat. Just keep that in mind. If you don't have a longer cutting mat, you may not want to do it this way, but I do. I'm going to click OK. And thank you for warning me, Cricut. And we do not mirror adhesive vinyl, so there's nothing to do here other than click Continue. And now we just connect our machine and we choose our material. Click Browse All Materials, and I'm just going to search on vinyl. And I just want to use premium vinyl right here. This is exactly what we want. I'm going to click Done. And I like to set my pressure to more, and that's it. That's all we need to do. Now let's head over and cut this out. Step 3, cut out your custom vinyl stencil for your wood sign. Using a green standard grip cutting mat, place your adhesive vinyl face up on the cutting mat and load your fine point blade into your Cricut machine. Now just press the flashing button when you're ready to cut and give it a little time to do its job. When it's done, unload the mat, flip the mat over, and peel the mat away from your vinyl. Step 4, weed your cut vinyl stencil design. Now it's time to take away the excess vinyl from our stencil, but it's important to remember that a stencil is the opposite of a normal vinyl design because you're going to be painting your design onto your board. That means that you are actually leaving the negative spaces and taking out the positive spaces. So as you watch, you'll see here that I'm removing what we would normally be putting onto a thing, but we're leaving them here so that our paint can come through, right? So it's the opposite. It's a negative of what you would normally want to weed. Just keep that in mind and follow my lead. And if it helps to think about it, remember, where is your paint going to go? Your paint's going to go into the places that you're removing, right? So you want the paint to go probably where your letters are or your images. So you remove your letters and your images while you're weeding it. Now you want to put transfer tape onto your project so we can transfer it to your wood board. And I recommend that before you put your transfer tape onto your vinyl, stick it to your clothes to make it less tacky and easier to lift when you go to add the vinyl to your wood sign. It'll just save you some headaches. You don't need it to be super sticky. Step 5, apply the vinyl stencil to your wood sign. Line up your vinyl on your wood sign Because we made that bounding box that's the exact same size as our sign, all I have to do is put that piece of vinyl exactly onto my sign, lining up the sides and the bottom, and I don't have to worry about it being centered because it already is. And use a scraper tool to apply the vinyl to the wood. It's important to get all of the edges of your vinyl scraped down really well because this will seal your vinyl to your wood, and you really want that in order to get those nice sharp lines. When removing the transfer tape, be careful not to lift any of the interior parts of the letters. Just go slow, and if you see any of those little bits pulling up, just put it back down, and then you might need to use the tip of a tool to make sure that it comes off or stays or whatever onto your design. Step 6, Mod Podge your vinyl stencil on your wood sign. Using a paintbrush, apply a coat of matte Mod Podge to your sign. Right over your vinyl. You really only need to put it on the negative spaces, the places where your paint is going to go. The Mod Podge helps prevent the paint from leaking and bleeding under the vinyl. Now, you don't need to go too thick here, but you also want to be careful about going too thin. What you see me doing here is just right. Now, it's important, though, that when you apply your Mod Podge, make sure that you're coating it in all directions. You want it to be going into all of the cracks. And the thing is that Mod Podge is transparent. So if it bleeds underneath the vinyl stencil, we won't see it. So it's not a big deal. Now be sure to let this layer of Mod Podge dry completely before you move on to your next step. I let my Mod Podge dry for 1 hour, and it was actually dry well before that. It really depends on how much you put on, and also depends on the conditions in your environment. You could also just let it dry overnight to be on the safe side. Step 7, paint your wood sign. After your Mod Podge has dried, it's time to begin painting. I like to use a paintbrush, specifically a stencil brush, to apply the paint, and I like to use the pounce method. The pounce method is where you keep your paintbrush straight up and down and you dab it onto your surface in up and down motion. You don't brush it into cracks at all. This is a stencil technique, and this is one of the ways that professional stencilers get really, really awesome results. The pounce method. I'll show you. I'm going to hold the sign up so that you can see it from the side. And so you see how I'm just coming right down straight onto it, and I'm just touching the surface and then coming right back up. It's just sort of bouncing with pressure. So it's pouncing. I don't know if it's actually, that's why it's called that, but that's how I think of it. It's bouncing with a little pressure so that the paint stays on there. And you just do that all over your project. And it'll leave a little bit of a pad or a texture, so you can use a cosmetic sponge to very lightly dab at it and smooth things out. Do not brush with the cosmetic sponge, just dab. So you're pouncing with the sponge too. It just has a more uniform surface. Just make sure that you get your paint over all of your negative areas, so all of your letters and all of your images, and wait for the paint to dry before you move on to the next step. My paint dried in 2 hours. So it didn't take very long. You're, of course, welcome to let it sit longer if you'd like. And you can also add an additional layer on if necessary. Now, the one layer will give it a kind of transparent, kind of aged look, which I really like, especially for a wood sign. But if you want something more solid, you could do 2 or even 3 coats. Just be sure to keep those coats light. It really depends on the look that you prefer. Step 8, remove the vinyl stencil. After the paint has dried, slowly and carefully remove your vinyl stencil. Removing the vinyl in the opposite direction of the wood grain helps to avoid unwanted paint from lifting. Use a weeding tool to remove the vinyl from the inner part of the letters. I had no issues removing any of my vinyl until I got to the center of my letters, and it was the Mod Podge had it so well sealed that I at times kind of had to dig in, and so at a couple of the corners, there's like a little bit of like a divot where I had to really dig in with my weeding tool. Just keep that in mind. Now, I'm not a particularly good weeder. You might be much better at it than me. But that was the only problem I had at all with this project. And honestly, now that the vinyl's off, I really can't even see those little divots where I had to really work at it to get the centers out. Now, there may be times when you lift paint when you remove your vinyl from the sign. If this happens, it's an easy fix, depending on how much of the paint was lifted. So you can use a straight pin and dip it into the paint and then patch it up any spots that lifted when the vinyl was removed. So like if you, like in those spots where I had those little divots, I just took my paintbrush and just put the tiniest little bit of paint right there so that to cover up, where I dug in my weeding tool. All right, so here it is. It's finished. The stencil's off, and look at those beautiful sharp lines. It's a sight to behold. They're so crisp and clean, and no caffeine. Haha, just kidding. But seriously, they look fantastic, and I love it, and I love this technique. And we made another sign. This one we stained first, so you can see the difference between the non-stain and the stain. Well, the sign came with some stain, but a more vibrant stain. Step 9, seal your wood sign. And if you want, you can seal your wood sign with a spray of polyurethane. I sprayed mine with matte polyurethane because I wanted to retain the old world weathered look of this really quaint sign, but you could use gloss or satin if you wanted. The idea is that if you use the acrylic sealer, it'll protect your surface and it'll last for many years to come. Wasn't that amazing? I was so impressed with the clean, sharp lines of the paint after I took this stencil off. I had to take like a close-up picture. And this sign only took a few hours from start to finish. I wasn't even working on the sign the whole time. This was a fun project with awesome results. Just be sure to use that matte Mod Podge and be sure to use your pounce method with your paintbrush. And just think of all the signs that you can make now. If you've got any questions at all about how to make or use vinyl stencils on wood, I want to help. Leave your question below this video or ask over in our Cricut Crafters group at jennifermaker.com/CricutCrafters. There you will find a whole community of awesome crafters who are happy to share their advice and ideas with you. And don't forget to enter my Cricut giveaway going on right now. You can enter for the chance to win your very own Cricut cutting machine. Get all the details over at jennifermaker.com/Cricut giveaway. And I believe that's it for today. Tomorrow, I'll be back to show you a really cool and fun paper craft that my daughter is helping me design. Now remember, I'm always open to your project ideas. If you can tell me what you want to make, I can show you how to make it. Until next time, this is Jennifer Maker reminding you to craft the life you love.